I'm going to ask you a series of questions.
This was one of those projects that I knew was going to be great. Director Mike Mills has a pretty good track record, with 20th Century Woman being one of my favourite films, maybe ever. Cmon Cmon promises a stellar cast, and the visual monochrome of the film made me think we were going to see another timeless classic, something A24 seemed to be pumping out year after year. Cmon Cmon. Well, that's how this film made me feel in the end. Like, come on, what was all of this for? The story starts with Joaquin Phoenix playing Johnny, who is currently conducting interviews across America, asking the youth of today what they think the future of America will look like. It's not exactly clear where it is he works or what the interviews themselves will be used for, but you get the idea that he's often on the radio, so you just have to fill in the blanks yourself. Now, these scenes were some of the best in the film for me, almost playing out like a documentary, and listening to these children's answers, which felt timely and brutally raw with questions about race, inequality. The film sets itself up to somehow try and address these questions in some way, but it doesn't. And to be honest, I'm in two minds about how I feel about this. It isn't Johnny's job to try and answer these questions. His job is simply to listen and record their thoughts. So that must mean the job must fall on us, the audience, to come to our own conclusions about these questions. My personal opinion is that cinema shouldn't answer questions, but that it should pose ideas and stir you to think about the world yourself. And that would all be great in this film if these topics were ever touched upon again. But they're not. So the interviews kind of become redundant in the grand scheme of the film. Johnny gets in touch with his estranged sister who's struggling with a marriage, and he agrees to look after her young son Jesse, an eccentric and excitable little lad, while she travels across country to help her husband. And this is a great setup for the story because it means he can spend some time getting to know his nephew, who has some questions himself like, why don't you and mommy talk anymore? While Johnny can continue to conduct his interviews with or without his nephew. Two birds with one stone. The chemistry between Johnny and Jesse is honestly amazing. The heart of the film is their relationship, and it is a really lovely fleshed out character study of one man and his nephew. But saying that, Pheonixs' character leaves a lot to be desired, but I don't think the fault lies with Joaquin Phoenix. I think it's in the script. His character just doesn't seem to want anything unless it's on a moment by moment basis. The driving force of the film, if you could call it a force, is the bond between Jesse and Johnny, but frustratingly in the end, I was kind of just left scratching my head thinking, have these guys learned anything about each other other than how to piss each other off? The two spend time around various cities, asking each other questions but never really answering them, and the film gets a little bit stale because of this. Their time on screen together eventually ends up feeling like an exercise in how to properly hold a microphone than it does a man getting to know his nephew. But the film does look beautiful. The black and white visuals seem appropriate because the film as a whole feels more like a sketch than a fully realised painting, but maybe that's the whole point. We don't know what the future's going to look like, we can only listen to each other and try not to drive each other insane. Sounds impossible.